Hey everyone, welcome back to another video session by Simplilearn. In this video on Kotlin tutorial, we will be learning about Kotlin language and all the basic concepts that one must know to understand this language. So let's go ahead and understand what we will be covering today. So we will start with the introduction to Kotlin language, then we will understand the variables in Kotlin, after that the conditional statements like if, else and when. Then we will cover array, loops, null safety and ranges in Kotlin, and at last we will learn about Kotlin functions. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. So let's start with introduction to Kotlin language. Kotlin is a general-purpose, statically typed programming language developed and released by JetBrains in 2016. In 2011, JetBrains revealed the Kotlin project, which is a new language for JVM. And later, in February 2016, its first version, Kotlin 1.0, was released. This language is concise and more expressive than Java. It is fully interoperable with Java, and it is also said that Kotlin language is made by extracting all the good parts of different programming languages like Scala, JavaScript, Java, C Sharp, etc. Google also announced Kotlin as the first class language for Android development. So it is now an official language for the development of Android and is being opted by many organizations across the globe. Now let's move on to our next topic, which is variables in Kotlin. There are two types of variables in Kotlin, which are var and val. First, var. The var variables are mutable, which means their value can be reassigned. Then there is val. The val variables are immutable, which means their value cannot be reassigned or changed or modified. As you can see in the example, var is the type of the variable name and the value Raj is assigned to it. After that, the value is reassigned as Sid. So after printing, it will display Sid because var is mutable type and its value can be reassigned. On the other hand, val is the variable whose value cannot be reassigned, which means it is immutable. As we can see in the example, on printing the value of the name variable, it is showing an error because we tried to change or reassign the value from Raj to Sid. And because it is a val type variable, the value is not going to change. Kotlin is smart enough to understand which is string and which is an integer. So it is not necessary to specify the type. Like in this example, name is the string and roll number is the integer. But we haven't specified their type, and still there is no error. However, it is possible to specify the type if you want. Now, coming to next topic, which is string templates. A string can be defined as a collection of characters enclosed in double quotes. The string templates allows us to include the expressions, variable references inside the string. The references in a string start with a dollar sign. To print the string, we need to add the dollar sign before the string name. We can easily add the variables in the string instead of concatenating them. For example, here name1 and name2 are two strings and we can include them together within the same sentence while printing like both $name1 and $name2 are best friends. It will display the value of string within the sentence. We can also print the expression like we did while printing the second sentence, dot to uppercase. Dot to uppercase is an expression, and in Kotlin expressions start with a dollar sign and are enclosed in the curly brackets, as we can see. So as we have understood about the string templates, let's move on to if, else and when statements. If is used with a condition. If that condition is true, Then the block of code executes, and if the condition is not true or false, then the else block executes. Now in Kotlin language, the if-else statements can also be used as expressions. That means they can return a value. While using if-else as an expression, it is mandatory to use the else branch. Here in the example, we can see if A is greater than B is the expression, and the value of that expression is assigned to the variable named great. Now, whichsoever is greater among them, that will be assigned to it and is then printed. Now, coming to when statements. When statements in Kotlin is similar to switch statement in Java. When statement is used to select one code block from the multiple code blocks based on a conditional expression. The code block which satisfies the condition is executed. For example, as you can see, the value 4 is assigned to the variable tab. Now, whichsoever value matches with the value of tab, that particular code block will execute. In this case, there are no code blocks but single line branches. The branch value that matches with the value of tab, that particular branch will execute. Like wrap will execute, which is then stored in the order variable, which is then printed. Now, let's move on to arrays in Kotlin. Arrays are generally used to store multiple values in contiguous memory location in a single variable. In Kotlin language, to create an array, you have to use the address of function and then write the elements inside the bracket. For example, here name is the array name and Sid, Robbie, Max, John are the elements of the array. In order to print the elements of the array, you can use loops. For example, here we are using for loop. In this for loop, n is the variable, names is the array name, and one by one it will print every element of the array. Now, as we have understood about arrays, now let's understand about loops. Loops are used to iterate through the different parts of program. For example, arrays, ranges several times. It is a set of instructions which keeps on repeating until a certain condition is met. It is generally used while working with arrays. In Kotlin language, the for loop is a bit different to that in Java. In this for loop, we use a variable in operator and the array name to display the elements of the array. For example, as you can see in the example, there is an array with elements 4, 2, 5, 12, 7, and using the for loop, we are displaying the elements of the array inside the for loop. Here n is the variable, in is the operator, and numbers is the array name. Loops are also used to iterate through the ranges, which we will discuss later. Now, let's understand while loop and do while loop. Both these loops are similar to the loops in Java. The function of the while loop is it checks the condition and executes through the block of code as long as the specified condition is true. And the do while loop executes the do block once before checking if the condition is true, which means the loop will execute at least once even if the condition is not true. So as we have understood about loops in Kotlin, so now let's move on to our next topic, which is null safety. So null safety is a feature in Kotlin language that solves the problem of null pointer exception. If you have worked on other languages including Java, then you must have an idea of null pointer exception. In Kotlin language, you can easily create null type variable. To create a null type variable or string which can hold a null value, we can simply define them by putting the question mark at the end. As we can see in the example, name is the variable name and string is the type, and after string there is a question mark, which means that this variable is of null type. By default, all the variables are not null in Kotlin. but you can create one by putting a question mark with them. Now, moving on to the next topic, which is ranges. Now, ranges can be defined as an interval from start to end. Expressions are created with double dot operator and an in operator. Here in the example, 0 is the starting point and 7 is the ending point. In between them, there is operator, double dot operator, which means that the loop will iterate from 0 to 7. Similarly, we can also print the range with gaps like in the example, I in 0 to 10, step 2, means that it will print from 0 to 10 with a gap of 2 digits like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Range can also be used in decrement manner. For example, I in 7 down to 2 means the loop will iterate from 7 to 2 in a decreasing order. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which is Kotlin functions. Functions are also known as methods. They are the block of code which runs whenever it is invoked. In Kotlin language, functions are defined with the fun keyword. After that, the name of the function and parentheses are written. If the parentheses are empty, it means function doesn't accept any arguments. In function with parameters, the parameters are specified inside the parentheses. The type of parameter is specified after the name of the parameter. As we can see in the example, fun is the name of the function, num1, num2 are the parameters name, int is the type of the parameters, then after that the colon, there is another int data type, which is the return type. That means it is the data type of the value which is returned. So these were some important topics of Kotlin language. Now let's go to the code editor and do some practical implementations. So this is our IntelliJ idea. Here we will do some examples of Kotlin language. So let's go ahead. First of all, we'll create the Kotlin file. So let's name it as example1. So first we'll do an example of string template in which we'll have a look that how to create those strings and how can we use some expressions with them. So let's start. So fun is the keyword for function. Now main function. Now inside this main function we'll write val. This is immutable as we know. Code is the name of the variable. Now let's say code is cipher. In Kotlin language you don't need to put the semicolon in the end as it is not necessary. You can do it but it is not necessary to do that. Alright, now after that let's say we want to print this. We'll write the code is $sign code. So this is how we can print this string, and let's see that if it works or not. First of all we'll have to save it. So we'll do save all, and now we'll go to run. Now here we will on run and select example1. Alright, as you can see the code is cipher. It is getting printed. Now let's say we want to use some expression with it. We'll write the code is, let's say we want to write the code in capital letters. We'll write the code is $sign and then the curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets we'll write code dot uppercase. Yes, uppercase, now with brackets. Now after that If you want to put the semicolon, it is your choice, otherwise it is not required. So now let's save it again. Save all, and now let's try to run it. As you can see, the code is cipher. The first one, the code is in capital letters, cipher. So this is how we can do it. And we can also merge the strings. We don't need to concatenate them. So we can do like this. The code is this, and right. Now let's try to run it again. So here what we are doing is we are merging the uppercase and lowercase. Here we can see the code is cipher and cipher. So this is how we can concatenate both the strings easily. So this is one of the example of string template. Now let's do another example of if else statements as expressions. Let's go ahead. Right now we'll create main class fun main, and inside this main function, first of all we'll create two variables, that is marks1 of val type, and let's assign it value 87. Then another variable marks2, and we'll assign it as, let's say, 82. Here we are using if else as expressions. So what we'll do is we'll make a variable result and we'll store the value of if or else in that particular result, and then we'll display that particular variable, and let's say that variable is result. Here we will use if else as expressions. So val result equals if marks1 is greater than marks2, then in the bracket write marks1 equals, this is for the printing purpose, $sign marks1 is the greater among both. Now let's write is greater than marks2. Variable marks2. Alright, now similarly we'll do for else as well. We'll write else now similarly we'll write marks2 equals marks2 variable is greater than marks1. Alright, so after that we'll print the variable result, because the result is getting stored in this variable result. So whichever is greater will get stored over here, and then we will print this variable, print ln, and we'll write result. Alright, now it's done, and I think we have to run this one. Save it and let's try to run example 2. Hope it works. As we can see, marks1 87 is greater than marks2 82. as marks 1 is 87 and marks 2 is 82. So marks 1 is greater. So that is why if block is getting printed. Now let's do an example of when statement. Let's create a new file. Go to new, this Kotlin file. Now let's name it example 3. Alright, so this is example 3. Now let's start with the when example. Function main. Inside this we'll create a variable named coupon. So let's say the variable is var coupon and let's assign it a value 5. Alright, now the when statement works as switch statements. It is used to select one code block or one code branch out of many code blocks or code branches based on the conditional expression. Whichsoever code branch matches with the condition, that particular code branch will execute. Alright, so let's start with it. We'll use when keyword and let's say coupon is the name of the variable and the value of coupon is 5, as we can see, as we have already declared that. Now inside when, the first branch would be, so this is how you can create a first branch, and if there are multiple lines then you have to use the brackets. Alright, so here we will print here is your coffee. Alright, so first message is this. The second message would be like forgot to enter T. Yeah, so the second message, let's say here is your T, we will write so here is your T. So in the third branch we'll write here is your green tea. The fourth branch will write here is your juice. And in the fifth line or the fifth branch we will write here is your water. So this is how we can create this. We can also create a default value. For that we have to use the else statement. We'll write else write invalid input. Alright, so this is how we are doing it, and so the value of coupon is 5, and whichsoever values among these like 1 2 3 4 5, 5 obviously will match it, that particular statement or line will be printed. So let's save this one and let's try to run it. So there's an error, as you can see. So for that we have to use the arrow operator instead of these brackets. So let's do that. So now if any value other than these 5 values is there in this variable, then this default message will be printed, that is invalid input. So now let's save it again and now run it. As you can see, here is your water as the value was 5. Let's say the value is 6. It must show the invalid input as there are only 5 values. So now let's try to run this and let's check if it is working fine or not. As you can see, invalid input, as we have entered 6 over here, which is not in this 1 2 3 4 5, so that is why it is printing invalid input. So now let's do an example of array. Let's create a new file, Kotlin file. Now let's name it example4. Alright, now the main function. Right, now inside this function, first of all we will create an array. So how we will do that? Well, let's say the name of the function is arr1 equals array of, as we have discussed already, array of now the number of elements like 2 4 6 8 12. So these are the elements of array 1. Now similarly we will create an array 2, right? Array of now the elements 1 3 5 7 9 11. Alright, now here we will use a set function. So if we want to set a particular element at a particular position, then we'll use set, and if we want to display a particular element of the array, then we'll use get. So first of all we'll understand set. So array1 dot set. So first here we will write the position. Let's say 1 is the position, and at 1 position we want to set 5 as an element. So this is the syntax for it. And let's say for array2 dot set. Now here we want to set at 0th position, and we want to set 2 element. So first is the position and second is the element that we want to set at that position. Alright, now we'll see the get function. So get is used to display the particular element of an array. So let's say array1 dot get. Let's say I want to print the 5th element, that is 14th in array1 case. So I'll do this. Similarly for array2, and in array2 case I want to print this 4th element, that is 9. Now after that we'll use println so that the result come out vertically. Alright, now if we want to print each and every element of an array, so this is how we can do it. For element in arr1, here element is the variable, array1 is the name of the array, and one by one it will print all the elements. So here we will write element. Just for the space. Now again we'll use for loop. Here we will display the elements of array2. Yeah, it's done. Let's save it now. And now let's run it. As we can see, 14 and 9. So as we know, here we have set 5 at 1th position, at first position. So 0, 1. So at place of 4, there is 5 now. And here at 0th position, that is at 1 position, there is 2. So first of all, here we have printed this get 5. So at array 1 position, at 5th position, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is 14, so that is why it is printing 14. In array 2, at 4th position, there is 9. So here it is printing 9. After that, here we are printing all the elements of the array. So as we can see, at the first position, we have set 5 instead of 4. Here we are doing that. So that is why here we can see 2, 5, not 4, then 6, 8, 12, 14. Similarly, as you can see, at 0th position in array 2, that is here, we have set 2. So we can see instead of 1, there is 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then 11. So this is how we can set some elements at a particular position and print those elements and print the array as well. So now let's do another example. Right, so we'll write function main. Now inside this, we will create an array. Well, arr1. Now in Kotlin, you can create an array having the integer elements and character elements or string elements as well in a same array. So I'll show you that. Array of, so first we'll write down the integer elements. Let's say 2, 4, 6, and then there are string elements. Let's say 8 and then 10. So this is our array. Within the same array, there are integer elements and string elements. Alright, now using for loop, we'll try to print this element in array1 dot. Here dot indices means if we want to print the index of each of these elements. Let's say if we just want to print the elements, so we'll not use this. We'll simply print ln, and then we'll do is array1. This is just for printing purpose. Element, then alright. So now let's save it. Let's run it. As you can see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It is printing without any error. So we can easily do that in Kotlin. And these are the indexes. For the index, if we want to print the index of these elements, we'll do is dot indices. Now let's save it again and run it. As you can see, array of 1 with 0 index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The index is correct, but the elements are not. So I think this, yeah, we forgot to write array of and the bracket. Now Let's save it again. Now let's again try to run this. Array of 1. Yeah. Now again, let's try to run this. Alright, as you can see, array with index numbers will print 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So not only the integer elements are getting printed, but also the string elements are also getting printed along with the index number. Because of this dot indices, we are also able to print the index of array elements. So these were some examples of Kotlin language. You can try some more examples on it. The more you'll practice, the more you'll get to know about this language. Alright, with that, we have come to the end of this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope it really helped you all. Thanks for watching, stay safe and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.